Alright, ladies and gentlemen, Baron here. So we are going to be doing another patch 1.37 preview. Now, as always, guys, this is a preview. Things are subject to change. However, we're going to be going off some pictures of planes that have been officially, basically put up on the forums by people that are involved with Gaijin, so I think it's reasonable to assume that these will have a very good chance of being put on the dev server and also a very good chance of going into the official patch. That being 137. So let's talk about them. First, we have the LA9 Lavochkin 9. Something interesting about this plane is it was first flown in 1946. So it's likely going to be a very high tier prop plane for the Russians. You'll notice in some of the other planes that we're going to cover that it seems that Gaijin is basically putting in kind of the gaps between the high tier, what we have now in terms of high tier prop planes, and then in terms of jet fighters. So I think most nations are going to get their big high tiered prop planes in this patch. Now that is just my personal speculation, and we'll cover some other planes, and then there's even some other ones that may be put in that haven't been confirmed yet, but it leads me to believe that every nation will get a high tier prop plane. Obviously the Americans already have theirs in the Bearcats right now, so it's the other nations that are getting that, and yes, including Japan. But I digress. Let's get back to the Lavochkin 9. It was rather similar to the P-51 in terms of, basically performance, range, all of that kind of thing. Another interesting thing about it is it has four 23mm cannons, all of which are in the engine cowling or in the nose. So likely to be able to put down a lot of pain pretty quickly in just a few bursts. And you're going to need to do that, to do it in just a few bursts, because you only have 75 rounds per gun. Now, these things are subject to change, but if they're based off historical accuracy, which Gaijin has been doing, we should expect 75 rounds per gun, 4 23mm cannons, all in the nose. That thing is looking pretty beast. So now we are on the Tempest II. And here it's actually pretty good because we actually get to see some information on it. Now, quick note, when you look at the statistics, these are stock statistics, and the official Gaijin, member who put it up, he said that they are subject to change, and as we should be well aware, most flight models on the dev server are usually placeholders at the first parts, and then once they're patched in, they usually get worked out. But as far as the rough statistics, the Tempest is tier 16. I don't think that's subject to change, so that kind of goes to show you that here's the British high tier prop plane. Prop fighter. It also has a speed of 431 kilometers per hour, which roughly equates to a little over 710 miles per hour. And pretty cool there. I know a lot of the British fanboys are really looking forward to this plane. Now we have the A6m5 Otsu. Real quick question. I'm not entirely sure what Otsu means. If you know, please let me know in the comments. Now, as far as this A6m5, it is going to be a little beefier, a little stronger, and a little harder hitting than A6m5s and A6m3s in the past, which is good because Japan has these amazing turning fighters, but they cannot take much damage before they are done. So this is going to be kind of good. It gives a little more depth to the Japanese lineup, something a little different. You get greater armor and greater firepower at the cost of some maneuverability, so there's a trade-off there. But it's good for the Japanese pilots to have this kind of option instead of flying, very weak aircraft, although they are far superior in turn fights. Now, what gives it this armor? It has greater armor for the pilot, as well as having armored glass, which is about 45 millimeters thick. So that's pretty good. Hopefully that will keep your pilot from getting sniped from those smaller rounds. It also has fuel tank protection, to basically keep you safe from exploding from fires. It also has fire extinguishers for the fuel tank. So that's pretty good, and as said earlier, it has a little bit loss in maneuverability as a result of these added features. Another thing that's pretty cool, as you should be familiar with for those of you who fly Japanese fighters, you have your 7.7mm machine guns in your engine cowling or in the nose, and generally your 20mm on your wings. What's kind of cool about this is that they've upped the weaponry. No longer do you have these little dinky, soft hitting 7.7mm machine guns. You now have 13.2mm machine guns in the nose. So that will help you to have greater knockdown power once you run out of cannon ammunition, and also pretty good accuracy on a pretty hard-hitting machine gun, that being 13.2mm machine gun. And a lot of people on the forums have been saying that these were kind of reversed engineered from the, I think it was M2 or M3 Browning 50 caliber machine guns. So these are likely to have a pretty good rate of fire, although they will be synchronized as they're flying through the propeller arc. Now we have the Focke-Wulf 190 D9, and I know a lot of those German boom and zoom poachers are really looking forward to this. I believe it's going to have two 13mm machine guns and two 20mm cannons, and the machine guns should have around 475 rounds per gun, and the cannons 250 rounds per gun. So if you are a Dora pilot, you now have a D9. And finally, we have what was already covered in the last video, which was at the time the only confirmed plane, and that was the Yak 9U. And this basically goes to show these have been popping up today and in the few days previously, so get on the forums, get active, because they are showing us teasers, and this is new. Generally, we have to data mine for this kind of stuff, and it's still speculative as nothing's really officially confirmed. And it's easy to say, hey, these 10 planes are going up, or these 10 planes files were found, and you find, less than that. Or in some cases, planes that you didn't even find from data mining. So the Yak 9U was great and maneuverable, and it was good at high altitude. So this looks like a high altitude Russian fighter, whether it be, the higher tier, kind of tier 14 and above, like some of the other nations, I'm not entirely sure. I think that A6m5, going back real quick, will be a higher tiered Japanese prop plane. Now the Yak 9U, in terms of armament, I think it had 120 and two 12.7mm machine guns. So not a whole lot of hitting power, although there were other variants of this that were kind of upgunned. So those were the confirmed planes. And now there's still some speculation. People have data mined, and there's been a lot of rumors, so we'll call this section the rumor mill. And this is based off data mining and sometimes hearsay, conjecture, all of that fun stuff, which means we can just sit here hoping for it and just hope it comes out, but you never really know. I've heard that the IL-28 is in the data files. Not sure if that's true or not. It would be fun to see a Russian jet-powered bomber. For you Japanese pilots, there is another A6m3 model that was found, as well as the Ki-84 Frank, which is a beast of a Japanese plane, very heavily armed, even up to the point where I think at its highest it had 220s and 230s on this thing. And there's obviously other options, so it could be kind of pure speculation. Could be similar to kind of what you have with the German lineup, where you can add cannons at the cost of, climb rate, maneuverability, and stuff like that. There's still that community out there who's hoping for their B-29 and hoping for their ME-262 HG-3s and HG-2s. There's been no word on that either. However, there have been additions to the tanks. I think it's somewhere around 20 to 30. And when you look at the tech trees, you have around 80 plus tanks. So while there are a lot of files going in on the dev server, oh my god, I hope they're playable, but I'm just gonna temper my enthusiasm and say they're probably not, but my fingers are crossed. Anyway, this has been patch 1.37 preview number 2. My name is Baron, and as always, thank you for watching, and if you find anything cool, let us all know in the comments so that we can all further investigate this and just sit here waiting for hopefully another pretty awesome patch. This one likely to have a lot of aircraft, and who knows with tanks. And now we have the 7.5 centimeter KWK-40, which was the main gun for most Panzer IVs and Stug 3s that were not armed with the assault guns or the howitzers. Now we have the 85mm ZIS C-53 or ZIS S-53.